everyone. Happy Monday afternoon. My heart goes out to everyone, and if anyone we know is affected, please let us know as your leadership team and let us know how we can help any way possible, and just keep praying. But we have Mr. Brian Kane, who is in the San Diego marketplace. He's been with Keller Williams since 2008, and since his joining Keller Williams as an independent broker, he's sold over 1,300 homes. Amazing job. He and his team sold 107 homes last year for $73 million, and he has been in Gary Keller's top 100 mastermind group since 2010. So thank you so much valuable information for you to share today. So welcome, everyone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Colleen.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about your business, your structure, and what area your team services.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everybody for having me on. I've been in San Diego now for some time. My dad, uncles, cousins, brothers, I kind of grew up in a real estate family. My dad had a shop in Escondido. So the only thing I knew for certain growing up was that I was not going to get into real estate. It wasn't happening. And of course, by 2004, they had sucked me right in. But back then I was young enough and arrogant enough to think success on your own. Why I started off as an independent real estate broker, not affiliated with any of the large brands, and built that little team up to about 12 people until the last market shift in late 2007, when I realized I truly I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't have the right resources, network, platform, technology, training, people, conversations around me to really thrive. So that's how I found my way to Keller Williams in 2008. And at that time, when I brought my whole group over, everyone left within 90 days, and it was down to just me. And so I rebuilt the entire team using the MREA. I met with my productivity coach there in the office every single morning when I first joined Keller Williams, and just really built a team to the model. So that was in 2008. By 2009, I had sold 50 homes using that MREA model with just me and an assistant. And then by 2010, I had sold 99 homes that year and haven't sold less than that in any year since. And I really attribute that to just being a student of the MREA, being a student of real estate, failing forward and continuing to just try to have success, not just alone, but all that success over the years has come with the team I've built. Right now, my team sells between 100 to 130 homes a year in San Diego County. Our hub is in La Jolla, but we do service all of San Diego County. And I'm usually somewhere, it's me plus 3 admins. So if you're looking at team structure, I'm the main rainmaker on the team, lead listing agent, and I have 3 full-time admin. So I have a marketing coordinator, and her job is to manage our social media and implement my 36 touch. And she's also in charge of managing the database. She also helps plan events, client events. So she's kind of an event coordinator, 36 touch, implementer, and she helps just make sure that our database is staying really strong. Then I have a listing manager. And so from the moment I set a listing appointment, my listing manager will run all the comps, put together the listing package. I would say 1 out of every 2 appointments, she'll go with me on the listing appointment. And once I get the listing signed, she manages everything up to the point till we get offers. So she'll coordinate all the vendors, contractors, painters, manage all the showings. And once we start getting offers in, then I still negotiate all the offers. And once we've negotiated an offer and we're in escrow, then the file goes to my closing coordinator. And she's kind of a glorified TC. She's been with me for 13 years. And she handles everything contract to close, including requests for repair negotiations, coordinating the termite tent, getting out there last minute for the carbon monoxide detector that we forgot in one of the bedrooms, all the little things like that. And then I have 4 full-time buyer's agents and another listing specialist. So we're a team of anywhere between 8 to 10 people. We've been that size pretty much the whole time, the last decade or so. And yeah, that's my business in a nutshell. We traditionally, up until 2 years ago, 87% of my business came by referral through the database. So we were able to generate, out of the 100 to 130 homes that we were selling every year, 87 to 110 of those homes come by referral. I think my secret to that is I've been in business 16 years and there hasn't been a single month where I haven't connected with my database somehow. And that's what I say is the only difference between my business and somebody else's business who maybe isn't selling as many homes is I'm certainly smarter. I'm certainly not, I haven't been handed anything different. Just every 30 days, at the very least, even in the last recession when things were, up in the air for me and I was transitioning, I still got at least an email out once a month, to my database. So for, I guess, 188 consecutive months, my database has heard from me, 1, 2, maybe times a month. In the last 2 years, I'll just finish up with it. In the last 2 years, because of the listing specialist I hired, kind of it came from an expireds background, a cold calling background. He's just really good on the phones that way. We're now in the last 2 years, we're now at 79% by referral. We're about 11 or 12% expireds, and the other 10% is basically open house. So those are our 3 kind of lead generation levers. It's open houses, expireds, and database. We're a team of 8 to 10 people, and we love what we do.
Awesome. And you mentioned you had 4 buyer's agents. Are there standards for production for them?
So I can share a couple of things. I'm going to try to be as hands-on as I possibly can. Oh, if you'll allow me to share I do want to share a couple of things with everybody.
Let's see. Is Michael still there? He's hosting.
Yes, I am. And Brian,
perfect.
You should be able to.
While you're doing that, so in order to be on my team, there's a minimum quota of you have to have initiated 12 closings a year. So whether you find a listing lead at an open house that you're holding and tee it up for either me or Josh to go in and get the listing on, or whether I hand a buyer to you on a silver platter and you go out and get it closed, it doesn't matter. Just every agent on my team has to have at least 12 deals associated with their name. If not, they go into, just a productivity plan where we try to help them get to that level. But if not, then we don't even have to ask to leave. What I find in Southern California is if you're not selling at least 12 homes a year, it's really hard to make a living, especially when you're on a team. So 12 homes a year at say an average sales price of $600,000 is 15,000 times 12, right? That's about 180,000 minus your company dollar, your royalty. They're split for the team. I want everyone on my team making 6 figures. So if they're selling 12 homes a year, they're making at least 100,000, and I know that they're going to be thriving and making a great living. So Michael, can I share now? Not quite yet. He's working on it.
Are you not available to the bottom?
When I click share screen, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
No worries. Thank you. Now that I know that, give me 1 second. Let me do this.
No problem. Colleen, I even came prepared. I have everything queued up, ready to go.
Brian, are you good now? I just made you the host.
I would never expect anything different, Brian.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Let me just check real quick, okay? All right, let's see if I can share now. Sorry for the delay, everybody.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm good. So you asked me how I hold my team accountable, and I want to show you something very simple that I do. So this is my actual team stat tracker, and every day my team members have to track their activity. So you can see on the bottom, this is for Bill, this one's for Kyle, this one's for Nathan, Eric, Josh, and so forth. So here's an example of Josh. He's one of the top producers on our team. And every month, our team has a goal of 430 contacts a month. Here's how we came up with that. We know in bold that top producers make 100 call contacts a week. There's 4.3 weeks in a year, or sorry, there's 4.3 weeks in a month. So 100 times 4.3 is 430 contacts. So every single person on my team has taken bold more than once. I'm an 8-time bold graduate, so we use a lot of the methodology and thinking that we have in bold in our team. And so every month, our team members are looking to get 430 contacts, and they track it daily. You can see in this case, Josh in January made 407 contacts, which was 70 hours of lead gen. He was able to set 7 buyer appointments and attended 7 buyer appointments, of which he got 4 buyer broker agreements signed. He also was able to set 9 listing appointments, attend 9 listing appointments, and get 5 signed. So in that particular month, Josh was able to earn 9 new contracts, 4 buyers and 5 sellers, which we're really proud of him for that. We tracked the number of homes shown, the number of offers written, open houses, and so forth. So this is somebody who's succeeding at a high level. The reason I use this, by the way, is it helps me coach. So if anyone's seen The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, everyone remember that? And
Yes.
do you remember when, Keanu Reeves got plugged into the machine and he goes into the Matrix, but there were still the people back on the ship. There was 3 people sitting at the computer, and they were looking at the X's and the O's kind of going down the screen. And to them, they didn't see X's and O's. To them, they could see what was happening in the Matrix. So for me, this is the same way. When I stare at this, I can actually see what my team is doing. I can see the hours they're working. Right? And so here's a really good example. This particular agent on my team right here in the month of March made 542 contacts. That's phenomenal. He's obviously working very hard. Of those 542 contacts, he set just 5 appointments. So what that tells me is for every 108 contacts this gentleman makes, he's able to set an appointment. So I don't have to, so at the end of the day though, he also has had 0 closings for the month. So as the team lead, it's important for me to not just get on his case and say, well, are you really working? What are you doing? Are you working the phones? I can see that he's working the phones. I can see that he put 84 hours in. What it comes down to is I need to inspect who he's calling and what he's saying. So by using this type of tracking system, it allows me to dial into every specific agent's need. And in this case, I wanted to go back and find out who were the people he was calling and what scripts was he using, and we would go into coaching conversations around that. Whereas whereas Josh, he set 16 appointments with 400 contacts. So his conversion ratio is more like for every 25 people he talks to, he's able to set an appointment. So Colleen, this is the main way how I hold my team accountable is they have to track their numbers daily. And based on everybody's individual tracker, for example, you can see here, Josh was only at 171 contacts. So this was a conversation for me to get back with Josh and say, what's going on? Are you burnt out? Are you exhausted? Were you just not putting in the time? And it opens up a whole different type of conversation because I can see what he's doing.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think too, those of us that don't have teams thus yet or don't desire to have a team is making sure we're all tracking those numbers for ourselves in our own individual journals.
If you want to write this down, I'll share it one more time just so you can get the categories. So what we track is number of contacts made, number of hours that were in some type of lead gen or lead follow-up, number of buyer appointments set, number of buyer appointments attended, number of buyer representation agreements signed, and then we track the number of seller appointments set, seller appointments attended, and the number of listings we sign. And then we track the number of homes shown, number of offers written, number of open house sold to give us our result of the number of new escrows, number of closings, and the number of referrals. So Colleen, I'm also the OP of 2 market centers, as you know, here in San Diego, and I oversee 450 agents. And a lot of times I have agents in our market center ask if I can coach them. And I say, yeah, no problem. So our very first coaching call is 5 minutes, and I introduce that spreadsheet. And I say, if you want me to coach you, then you have to track your activities. Otherwise, I can't and won't coach you. So whether they're on a team or they're an individual, it's important that people track the activities, because that's the only way we know where to focus on getting better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I say the same thing. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. So is there going to what we're all experiencing right now with the COVID-19 pandemic? What restrictions do you have? Are they the same if you're familiar with what we have in Orange County?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 counties are operating pretty similarly. We're pretty much just under the same state guidelines. Things have really opened up in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think that question would have had such a different answer 3 weeks ago for me. Our beaches are back open. You can now sit on the beach, walk on the beach, swim. Our boardwalks are back open. Our restaurants are open with certain guidelines. We cannot have gatherings of 10 or more still, anything like that. So I think our counties are operating pretty similar that way. California Association of Realtors also just put out the BPPP, which is the best practices guide for right now. And we're just following that. So for all of our showings, there has to be a signed PED by all parties entering. All appointments have to be scheduled. My team and our offices are going to re-engage in open houses effective this weekend. But those open houses are going to be very guideline specific. So people can't just come in off the street. They need to register. We're probably going to be working 2-person open houses where one person's inside the house and the other person's greeting folks as they arrive to make sure they're properly socially distanced, that they've registered, that they've signed the PED. So what I can share with you, Colleen, just as a side note to that with everybody, is I've been tracking what's been happening in the market since COVID happened week by week. So I thought I would share this with everybody. Hopefully you can see. So if you look here, this was, the week where they started talking about potentially things shutting down. March 19th, right here, this was the week where the governor, had the stay-at-home order. And what I did is, if you go down here, this is last year, the same weeks last year. You can see in San Diego County, we were putting about 1,100 to 1,200 new listings on the market every week. Here's what happened during COVID. We were pacing that. And then as soon as the government shut down, we started seeing a massive decline of new listings hitting the market, which gave us about a 27% decline in the number of listings that went to market. And as you can see, look what happened starting 4 weeks ago. We're back up to 918, 1,007, 943. So we're still, it's on the increase, right? We're still seeing new listings come to market, but San Diego already has an inventory problem. And you can see that we're actually in the same amount of time. Last year, we put on nearly 15,000 new listings, whereas we only put on 11,000. So we're still about 4,000 homes short in San Diego that we would normally see hit the market, which is translated into a 28% decline in the number of new pendings, and a 28% decline in the number of homes that have sold during this time. So that's what's happening in San Diego with COVID. However, the reason I track this weekly and I wanted to share it with you is I think it's so important that we do exactly what Gary says, which is we have to be the local real estate economist of choice. And if we don't know how to give confidence to our buyers and give confidence to our sellers that the pathway for transacting real estate is still very much open, then we're leaving our careers, we're leaving our opportunity up for chance. And so now whenever I get a call and someone says, hey, Brian, hey, what's happening in the real estate market? I'm so excited for them to ask me that question because I have an answer now. And I'll say, hey, Colleen, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. You see, in San Diego County, we're typically putting on 1,100 to 1,200 new homes every single week. around this time. Because of the coronavirus and people maybe trying to get used to navigating this market, we're only seeing maybe 800 to 900 homes going on the market. So we're definitely have a supply problem. So supply is low, but demand is still extremely high because buyers today can lock in a 30-year fixed interest rate around 3%. Those are insanely good real estate interest rates, which is causing a really high demand. And accordingly, guess what? Last week alone, we saw 880 homes go under contract here in San Diego County. So for the motivated buyers, sellers, and investors, the pathway for real estate is still very much open. So that's the type of conversations I'm having with clients and strategic referral partners and other agents, because sellers want to know that they can be confident that they put their house on the market, they can still get top dollar. And buyers want to know if can they go out there and find inventory, tour the inventory, and take advantage of locking in that 30-year fixed 3% rate. And if they can, they'd be more apt to purchase, right? Also, I think it's important, I'll share one more time. I think it's important to see that in San Diego County, I'll have the May results in about another day, but you can see here in 2019, our market has actually gone up 5.2% value-wise for single-family homes, and it's gone up 2.9% value-wise for condos. So that gives me another talking point with my home buyers and home sellers. I say, listen, everyone says they want to wait till after the election, wait for after coronavirus, but here's what I know. I know that we've been at a market cycle peak for some time. As soon as interest rates rise, we are likely to see a softening of prices. If you're a home seller today, this is the summer of Sam. Now's the time to get your home on the market. We're still transacting. In fact, for every 900 homes we're putting on the market, 750 are flying off the market and going under contract. And it's the type of conversation that gets my sellers feeling confident that they can list with me and accomplish their real estate goals.
No, I love that. I love that spreadsheet. And we have Stephen Thomas doing that on our behalf in Orange County. So it's really important that we're tuning in and we're getting that data and being able to communicate that effectively. So awesome. Thank you for those scripts. What else is leading you and your team to success throughout the shift in the pandemic?
So I think it's just so important to be nimble and flexible and open to change, and just sheer grit and doing whatever it takes. And that's mostly what's happening in our conversation. So here's an example. Yes, we are starting back with open houses this weekend. However, for the last 6 weeks, we've been very aggressive about holding our virtual open houses. My team completely migrated off of Boomtown and into Command. So I am running my entire team off of Command. And so now what we're doing is we're posting our social media ads for our Facebook Live open houses. I set every listing to have a max $15 ad spend for that. So that's $15 ad spend. And I'm getting anywhere between 8 to 20 leads per ad that I place for our virtual open house. Once we take the Facebook Live, we are getting anywhere between 20 to 60 engagements on that Facebook Live for our open house. So that's been really wonderful to stay top of mind. We're getting prospective buyers and sellers engaged in our real estate activity. So that's been really helpful. And we also just been staying in really great communication. You can see from that example I gave you that Eric on our team in the month of March made 547 contacts that month. Well, if you were to go across the team, you'd see that we were really big in the month of March of doing all of our care calls and just making sure that everyone was doing okay and if they needed anything. So we've just stayed really close to our database. We have tried to pivot wherever possible and leverage technology, such as the Facebook open houses. We were doing all of our listing presentations over Zoom. I'm proud to announce, let's see, I can show you guys another spreadsheet maybe. Well, I can just tell you. So in the months of March, April, and May, my team took 31 listings.
If you're trying to share, we don't see what you're sharing.
I'm not going to share it because there's too
Oh,
much
okay.
sharing going on. Because I know the numbers. So I took 31 listings. My team took 31 listings in March, April, and May. The majority of which, I think 27 or 28 of those we took via a Zoom call, where we did our listing presentation just via Zoom, did a screen share on our CMA and our normal process, and sent out everything via DocuSign. There were 3 or 4 that we still went out to the properties because they just really needed some hands-on. They were estates that were full of stuff and they just needed help. So those are all the things that we've been doing, Colleen. You know, it's nothing earth-shattering. We're showing up to work. You can see I'm wearing a button-down and a collared shirt. I mean, my team, doesn't show up in flip-flops and backwards hats and tank tops to our Zoom calls. We're getting ready. We're doing scripts and dialogues at 8:30 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're hitting the phones by 9. Everyone on my team took Bold Pivot Shift, the new Bold Pivot that just completed last week. We're staying plugged in. We're staying engaged, and that's what we're up to.
That's awesome. Congratulations on the success during those months.
Yeah.
Going back to, you mentioned that you converted your whole team into command. Congratulations. I know that was a daunting task, and nonetheless you did it. And you obviously cut the expense of Boomtown. What other expenses did you cut through this?
Yeah, so that was obviously the thing. The very first week, we started reading Shift, and across the board, everyone on the team looked at their personal and business expenses and did what we could to cut. Boomtown was costing me about $1,100 a month, so that was a big expense saving. So that was one of the biggest things that we did there. Obviously, I went through every single line item, and the good news is, I lived through the last shift in real estate in 2008. And that left me still to this day with so many, mended, fractured bones and bruises. And that's a lot of the habits that I learned from the last shift I've been carrying forward all the time. So I review my P&L and my balance sheet every 2 weeks. So that's a habit that came out of the last shift. So I have a bookkeeper that I pay $400 a month to, and he does all the books, right? And he's in every other week, and after every week, I stop what I do. I have a scheduled appointment. I take 30 minutes. I review the P&L. I review the balance sheet with the bookkeeper, and I start making cuts or additions or decisions then. So, Colleen, when the shift hit, I didn't have to go in and go, oh my gosh, what were all these charges I never even knew about or forgot that I had. So every dollar that we were spending has been very purposeful up until this point. But Boomtown was obviously a big thing for me because that saves about $13,000 a year. And we ended up cutting maybe another $3,000 or $4,000 a year from the budget, but it was just really little stuff. Like, for example, obviously I haven't been taking clients out to dinner. My entertainment and travel budget, is way down. So that's been a big savings as well. One thing I wanted to say, I got some really good success on, and I'd like to share with everybody. And again, it's not new. I can just share how we did it. Was I wanted to make sure that we demonstrated that we were supporting local business. And in the neighborhood in which I live, it's called Mission Hills, just above Old Town in San Diego. It's a historic neighborhood. And I've been farming this neighborhood for the last few years. And I picked the 250 closest contacts I have within the farm. And I sent them an email letting them know that I wanted to support local business, that there is a local deli here in our neighborhood whose son goes to my son's preschool and everybody knows him. And so I said, hey, there's no such thing as, whoever said there's no such thing as a free lunch, Kane Real Estate supports local business and we support you. Respond in the next couple of days and I'll buy you a family 4-pack of lunch or dinner, totally on me. Let's support our local businesses and make sure we're all taking care of one another during this time. And that got a tremendous response. So funny enough, in this neighborhood, I was only on the hook for 41 meals, which was not too bad. So it cost me about $450. But I got so many people texting and emailing and calling me saying, hey, that's such a great thing that you're doing. Kane really does care. You know, that's fantastic. Even though they didn't place an order, they recognized that we were trying to continue to create community. And one of the people that I sent it to was somebody who I know does flips. She has her own HGTV show. She's a general contractor and just overall great business person. And I had yet to have a one-on-one meeting with her. My wife had come in contact with her through one of the mom's nights out in the local neighborhood, which is how I got her contact info. So she was somebody who ordered a meal, and her husband came to pick it up. And the next day she sent me a thank you note. She goes, I just got to tell you how wonderful this was. I'm so glad that you're supporting the community. I'm interested in flipping a particular property. Could we meet and talk about it? So I was actually able to set an appointment. I came down, we went over the ARV. I saved her from making a bad choice because she was pretty close to making an offer. And after going through the numbers, she decided, you know, it wasn't going to be worth it. But now we've established a business relationship, and I'm actively helping her make decisions on real estate acquisition. So I just wanted, you asked me what I was doing differently during COVID. That's one of the things that we did differently.
No, that's awesome. What a great response you have. And I'm sure it'll keep trickling in nonetheless.
Yeah, it's been to keep in front of people, right? It's just part of our messaging. It's just how we're staying involved in the community. So.
Right. No, I love it. I love it. Kane cares. I like that.
Got it.
So you mentioned earlier a little bit about your lead generation or where the sources come from. So tell us about lead generation. Is it 9 to 11 and you're done?
Yeah. So for my team, they do tend to lead generate in the morning. That's what we have designed. And you asked me about command and lead gen. So let me bring them both together and answer your question. I think for all of us, whether you're on a team or decisions being made for you, or you're looking to adopt a new platform, sometimes change just takes time. And I can tell you that my team has been working on the transition probably since June of last year. And at first it took me about 60 to 90 days to get buy-in from everyone on my team because they were so used to Boomtown. I mean, we've been on it for a decade and, or almost, we've been on it for 8 years. And they were just so used to that process that it took me 60 to 90 days to really get buy-in. And how I did that was I had to sit everybody down and show them the functionality. And just like I know your market center is doing, is they're allowing for command trainings, and I'm sure you guys have your tech trainings happening. I had to do the same thing in a very highly concentrated format with my team, because once they got comfortable with the technology and once they understood how to navigate it, and they saw some of the features that Boomtown didn't do, especially like the monthly nurtures with the market snapshots, right? I love it. Everybody was just fired up. So it took me about 2 to 3 months to get buy-in. And then it took us about 4 months to clean up the database, because this was our one chance to make sure that the information we migrated from Boomtown over to Command, that the names were right, the phone numbers were right, the emails were still legit, that they were still people that we wanted to market to. So we had a chance to kind of cleanse our database. And what did it look like? It looked like me, my database manager, and my listing agent coming over to my house, ordering Thai food, and sitting there for 4.5 hours going through every single entry. So we didn't just bulk transfer. We took the migration seriously. I'll say this, and pardon my French, but this is a quote from Gary Keller that he said in our mastermind group. We were in there one day, and he kind of looks at all of us, and he says, "You're an idiot if you think your database is not your business." Now look, this is coming from a man who I think is very intentional about his words. And he said, "You're an idiot if you think your business is not your database, or your database is not your business." I took that seriously. I take it to heart. So when we were coming into Command, I wanted to make sure that my business was dialed. And so we had multiple evenings and multiple days where, I would just give 100 contacts to my team, that they were assigned to, and I go through these 100 contacts. You have 1 week. Let me know if all 100 should come with us into command, or if we should drop some of them because they're just bad contacts or you don't have any intention of following up. So that took us several months, Colleen, just to make sure. And I'm happy to say when we transitioned over, I transitioned with 3,462 people that are in our 36 touch. And we had about 5,400 people. So we actually purged about 1,800 folks from the database that we decided we weren't going to stay in contact with. So since then, how do we lead gen? Well, we always start with the database. Because our database is our business, the thing I do every day is I log into the database and my lead gen always starts with lead follow-up. And that's the beauty. If you're really following the model, if you're year 1 in this business or year 25, the goal is, real estate's very simple in my opinion. There's lots of people out there you haven't met. Your goal is to meet them, have a systematic way of staying in relationship with them so you can do repeat and referral business. It's that simple. Meet people, systematically stay in touch, do business. And so every week, my goal is to stay in contact with my database and add people to it. And that's the whole theme of our team is when we lead gen, the very first thing we do is we go right into the database and we make the 10, 15 phone calls that we need to make into the database, asking for referrals, asking for repeat business, or following up on a warm referral or lead. After that, we start looking for new people to add to the database through cold calling, prospecting, expired, circle dialing, open house, things like that. So my team from 9 to 11 is doing a lot of lead follow-up and incubation of leads in the 3,400 people in the database. And then once they've exhausted that conversation for the day, they go right into other types of cold contact. For me, personally, to give you a little idea of what I have going on in my world. So I own 6 companies. I own 2 escrow companies, a mortgage company, 2 market centers, my team, and a nonprofit. So my time is obviously divided, and yet I'm still very engaged in my team's listing and sale process. And I'm still lead generating. So I'm currently averaging about 75 contacts a week. So I still track just like the rest of my team. I make about 75 contacts a week, and I'm going on a couple of listing appointments a week. So for me, almost all of my lead gen is just into my database. I would say 99%, if not 100% of the appointments that I set and go on are either referred to me by past clients or agents, or they're referred to me by somebody, in my database.
Awesome. And then there's a question from the audience. What is your favorite feature you and your team use in Command aside from the monthly neighborhood nurture?
So we're having a ball of a time, working with, I still call it Lead Accelerator, but just the social media platform for getting our ads out there and really helping kind of draw in have not mets. So it's way less expensive. I mean, I've spent in the last 2 months, let me think about this. I've spent about $500 in the last 10 weeks. And I've been able to generate, a couple of hundred leads, good ones, like where we're able to get some kind of, interaction, because these are people who are registering with real phone numbers and real emails. So I really enjoyed that. We haven't closed anything yet. However, I know from doing years and years of online marketing that these buyer web registrations, whether they're registering on your website or coming through social, it's about an 18-month incubation time before we actually see a closing. So for me, I'm going, wow, we're just lining up our 2021, 2022 with all of these new leads that we're bringing in. So I'm really enjoying that. The other part that I'm really enjoying is just how we're using opportunities. And my operations team now is slowly but surely migrating our entire transaction management process into Command, which has been great. So our checklist, so now instead of having a checklist on a spreadsheet for launching a listing, our checklist is now in Command, and everyone can see it. So I would say those are the top three things: is how we're streamlining our transactions, how we're meeting new people through social, and how I'm able to stay in contact with everybody with their own curated web page of neighborhood values around the neighborhoods they care about. I mean, what better can I provide somebody electronically than a neighborhood specific curated website? Anything else that's going to trump that is going to require my time on the phone, in person, right? There's nothing of more value that I feel like I can send electronically than neighborhood specific information that's relevant to each one of my databases.
No, that's awesome. And then just going back to the campaigns and Command, you mentioned $15 ad spend on open houses. What does another typical campaign look like, spend-wise?
Right now, that's the only thing we're doing. Here's the thing. I am a firm believer that sales is interactive. Sales is personal. This is a contact sport. So if I was going to layer in social, right, social media or technology into what I do, I still needed to have some type of interactive component. That's just the way my team works, my culture is, my brain works. So rather than putting out a bunch of ads on properties, we said, okay, if I'm going to spend money, let's do the ads on social that draw people into some type of live experience where they can still get a hold of us, which is why I'm spending the money on the virtual open houses, so that when people register, we can get right on there, answer their questions. It's specific to a property. It's at a specific time. They know where to find us. They can jump online, interact with us. So for me, and I'm not saying that I won't expand out, but it's baby steps, I think, for all of us. And I'll say this has nothing to do with Command, okay? This has everything to do with social media marketing and web-based advertising, whether it's pay-per-click or anything else. If you haven't been doing any of that, just take baby steps. Because if you go out there and spend $500 and produce 500 web, you may go, oh my gosh, this stinks. There's no real buyers who want to buy in the next 30 days. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there is. But my experience of online leads is there's a long incubation time. And so I'm playing the long game. And because I'm playing the long game, I'm just dripping out the money. I didn't take the $1,100 I was spending on Command or Boomtown and just immediately dump it into social media marketing where I'm not an expert. So instead, I'm doing about $200 a month instead of $1,200, and getting just enough leads that my team can handle and follow up and nurture, and where they can interact.
Very smart and calculated nonetheless. Carmen Seja had a follow-up to one of the smart plan you mentioned.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for being here, Brian. I have a quick question regarding your smart plans as far as cold leads. I'm also taking advantage of the campaigns in Command right now and doing a couple different kinds of campaigns, capturing some leads. So right now I'm about $2, a little under $2 per lead. And you're right, it is going to be a long game. So I just have a quick question: if you would be willing to or able to maybe kind of share your smart plan for cold lead follow-up, because we do know it's a long game, right? So what is it specifically that you're doing over the next 6 to 12 or 18 months that's going to be capturing these leads and turning into a transaction?
So I'm always going to stay in integrity and just tell you I don't have that all figured out yet.
Awesome.
We're working on it. We're working on it. But here's what we are doing. So for sure, when they come in, because they're registering around a particular property, because they're responding to an open house ad, then we make the assumption that they're interested in homes in that particular neighborhood.
Right.
So the very first thing we are doing is putting them right into the neighborhood nurture on the bi-weekly. So they're getting it a little bit, not once a month, but twice a month. So at least, this year, they'll at least get 104 emails from us over the next 52 weeks, about that property. We then follow, the old Ben Kinney kind of boomtown playbook, which is that 10 days of pain. So my team knows that in the first 10 days, it's just the most crucial 10 days of really trying to establish a relationship. So when those leads come in, we're texting, calling, emailing on a daily basis until they tell us to stop calling, or they actually schedule an appointment, or we understand what they're about. So right now we're doing that, and then if we connect with them, then we will put them into our 36 touch, just like any other database person. So I didn't want to create multiple tiers and layers of smart plans yet. I'm just trying to keep things simple. So we have 10 days of trying to get into a relationship with them. If we do, they just get plopped right into our normal 36 touch, plus their bi-weekly neighborhood nurtures. And if we don't get a hold of them yet, then, we're just dripping on them every 2 weeks. And then I think we're setting up like a monthly phone call where we're just trying to follow back up and just make sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, one of the things that's coming, I don't want to speak on behalf of KWRI, but I've been pushing for this. The one thing that Command will have the opportunity to do soon, it's just not there yet, is on Boomtown, if a consumer was on our site, they could get listing alerts just like, Redfin or Zillow or our MLS. Listing hits the market, they get automatically emailed or automatically notified. I am told that is in development, high priority on Command, and is coming. That'll be extremely helpful because when I was on Boomtown, when they got the alerts, we could go into that contact record and see if they opened the alert and looked at the property. And so when we would lead generate cold contacts, might start by going into the database, sorting by most recent, and we can see anybody who was looking at listings on our website. And if they were looking at listings on our website, that would be an instant phone call. And so we're looking forward to being able to do that on Command very soon. For now, they're getting the monthly nurtures and just a set scheduled 30-day call from us.
I have one more question, if you wouldn't mind. Regarding your $15 ad spend for your open houses, can you kind of go over, are you paying for a campaign the day of the open house, or are you boosting hey, register for live?
That's a really, really good question. Okay. So here's what we learned. And I learned this one from Jay and Wendy Papazon, actually. So if we're going to have an open house on a Saturday, you have to have your ad up by Tuesday. There needs to be 3 to 4 days of seasoning time for it to really catch on. That's what we discovered. And if we did it the day before, we just weren't getting the emails or the registrations. So what we do is every Monday at 11 a.m. my team has a check-in. So we meet from 11 to 12. We talk about every single transaction, every single listing that we have. And at the very end of the meeting, we schedule our open houses. So each buyer's agent on the team says, okay, I'm going to hold, Main Street open Saturday, 10 to 11 or 10 to 12 or whatever. Then the next day, my marketing coordinator starts placing all the ads. So by the end of the day, too, all of our social ads are placed. And I'll see a trickle like Wednesday or Thursday. I might see 1 or 2 leads come in. But by Friday and Saturday, they all just start kind of flowing in. So for us, and by the way, not every ad spends the full 15. We're spending between $3 to $15 per open house, just depending on the traction we get. But I just set the cap at $15. So we found it's important. Yeah, we found it important to have 3 to 4 days seasoning time. Yeah.
So when people are initially registering, or I guess seeing the ad on a Thursday, for an example, for an open house on Saturday, are the people that are registering, are they getting some kind of link to your Facebook Live?
So when they click on the social, we've created a landing page through Command, and it just features the house, and it just says, register here, and we ask for their name, phone number, and email. And so when they click on the social ad, it goes to a landing page, and it says the date and time. For access, register here, and then the lead capture just comes through Kelly, and I get notified, on my cell phone when I get it's called a lead capture form, and then that's immediately assigned to the agent who is working that open house. So on my team right now, we're kind of doing your listing, your lead. So because they're all my listings, if you're working the open house, we consider it your listing that week. So if Nathan's holding Main Street open, any capture forms that come in off Main Street will get immediately assigned to Nathan, and it's his job to work those leads.
So are you working, are you doing live open houses, virtual open houses on Facebook or like on YouTube videos, or are they going on a landing
Facebook
page?
Live, or it's now called Facebook Premiere.
Ah.
So you can look at that. And so and here's what else we learned, that a 2-hour Facebook Live is awful. It's too long. No one's going to do it. It's terrible for the agent who has to like carry the phone around for 2 hours unless they have their gimbal or whatever they're called. So we've actually, it's 30 minutes. So the entire open house experience up until this weekend has been a 1-hour experience for my agents, because my buyers team has to show up 30 minutes prior to the scheduled open house. One, so they can make sure they have good internet reception, good cell reception, so they can do the Facebook Live, so they can walk the house to really determine what's going to be the best route and the best way to show the house. Get all the lights on, get all the doors open, so they're not trying to open doors while carrying, their phone around. Those are things we did the first week, and it turned out awful, so we learned from that. And so the first 30 minutes is just getting prepped, and then they go live for 30 minutes. And then here's the beautiful part. The Facebook Live and Facebook Premiere goes live, and then it stays in Facebook. So we actually get about 50% of our interactions during the 30 minutes and about 50% of our interactions after, where people are still going on, making comments, asking questions to the video post that's left behind.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Very cool, very exciting. So Brian, you mentioned earlier one of the ways that you lead generated was client events, and we don't know exactly when we'll be able to have events with greater than 10 in our near future, if not through the end of the year. So what does that look like, or what has it looked like, and what will it look like?
Yeah. Well, we're certainly masterminding around that, my marketing coordinator and I. That is a big empty void in our business, because we were hosting 3 large client events a year. I did a chili cook-off every March that we have about 250 attendees, 30 different chili entries, and it's just a big fun outdoor event. Then last weekend, so thanks for that question, dagger in my heart, was my 12th annual client appreciation summer party. It's an outdoor event. It's like going to a big wedding, only no one needs to get dressed up. I got a live band, I got food, open bar. It's just a big party that we throw for our referral partners in our database. And then every fall, we do some type of event, whether it be a pumpkin pie giveaway or like Santa photos or something. We always do something around that holiday time to just bring people together before it gets too crazy. And then what I also do, and I took this right out of Gene Rivers' playbook. So this has been one of the hardest things I've had to let go of, is my wife and I host dinner parties every month strategically. So it started off as what I call my top 50 dinner. So think of, there's 12 months of the year. If I have 4 couples every month come to my house, I could get to 48 couples a year, or 48, clients or referral partners. So my wife and I bought this beautiful dining room table that seats 12 people, so I can have 4 to 5 couples over. We have the same thing every time. It's a system. We go to Costco, we grab the salad, we grab the tri-tip, we grab the salmon, right? And it's really easy to cook. And so when people come over, I cook for them. We sit down. I invite people into my home. I entertain them. The only time I talk about real estate is if somebody asks me, or right before we eat, I say a toast that essentially, if you haven't figured it out by now, you all have something in common. It's that somehow, some way, we've all had a chance to conduct real estate together. And this is just my way and my wife's way of expressing our gratitude that we wouldn't have the things we'd have in our life if it wasn't for our clients and our friends. And this is why we wanted to have you over. It's just a way of saying thank you. So cheers, something like that. So I do that. And then what that transitioned into, and so if you're listening and you're farming, once you're able to have people back in the home, this was really good. So the way I built those 250 contacts that I emailed in my farm wasn't through postcards or door knocking or open house. I've been able to create genuine relationships with 250 families in my farm because I invited them over for dinner. So I would pick 3, 4, 5 couples who live in the neighborhood. I'd start with like an anchor couple, and I would go, okay, I know that they know this couple, which we've never really met. And I know that this couple also knows that couple, and we've never really met them. And I think they'd all like this couple. And so I'd invite those 4 couples over for dinner, and we were hosting monthly dinner parties in the neighborhood, and people really love it. It's also been great because people have reciprocated. We've had a chance to then go into their homes. And as a real estate agent, that's where you want to be, inside their home, right?
And meet the people they invite over.
That's right, and the people they invite over. So that's been a really winning solution for us, because over the last 3 years, I've pretty much only done those dinners for my farm. And that's how we've really been able to develop those 250 strong contacts in our database. So I completely avoided your question because I don't have an answer, which is what are you doing instead of events?
Well, no, but those are still great creative ideas for everyone to hear, though, nonetheless. So
I tried some things. I don't know about you. We're on the Zoom platform right now, and by for sure, this is the best option that all of us on this call have right now to have this discussion and connect. So I'm glad we use it. In the beginning, the first 30 days, I went hard on Zoom. So where I wasn't able to have events, I was doing Zoom dinners. And so I was bringing people together. We might have 3 or 4 couples. All of a sudden, for us, I started realizing once it was more than 6 to 8 people on a Zoom, it's impossible to have any type of real conversations. It's not like at a real dinner party where I can have a one-on-one while I'm over the barbecue while my wife's talking to another person. It was just too hard to recreate that experience virtually. That's one reason why I came up with the neighborhood sandwich purchase event, because I wanted to still gather community together. And then here's what we're doing. Here's the only thing that we're doing right now is I'm pretty involved in raising money for our local school here where my daughter attends. I always sponsor all the events and try to, I was the MC at the big gala doing the auctioneer and things like that. So here's a good little thing to think about. We were scheduled to have a traditional 5K. The big events team, everyone gets their numbers with the little magnet on it, and you run, and it's a big festival, and gosh, there must be 700 to 800 local participants in our local 5K to raise money for our school. So what we pivoted to do is we're actually doing a virtual 5K. So it's still happening. I'm a flagship sponsor, and one of the local PTA president, she's been so gracious. So for the last weekend and this coming weekend, she has the big banner up at her house, and people can still go and pick up the goodie bags, where I have a branded mug that everyone can pick up. So everyone can still go pick up the goodie bags, pick up their run shirt, and then starting today, June 1st, and it ends June 10th, you can run the 5K whenever you want. So the 800 people who registered for the 5K are still going to run, but they're just not going to do it all at one time. So the families are going out together, they're running the 5K, they're keeping track, they're reporting their scores in, their numbers in, and it's still just a great way to get out there in the community and raise money and raise awareness and all of that. So for me, I was still able to distribute my mugs, and inside my mugs, I had a very specific call to action. I put flyers in there that had boasted one of my recent closings at 3.1 million in the neighborhood, and then let everybody know that I was doing a raffle to give away a free mini iPad for anybody who downloads my KW app, and I had my QR code and the instructions for downloading my branded KW app. So if they do that, their name goes into a flyer. I'll be on social media June 15th picking a winner. So that way I'm getting people onto my platform, onto KW, right? what better thing that can I do than to make sure that my face is, in their cell phone whenever they want to search for real estate. So we're doing that now and participating there. So we're just coming up with ideas.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, it's 4:02 and I so appreciate your time. Is there any last minute question for Brian? All right. Well, you're awesome. And we have our Survive and Thrive. We have a new YouTube channel for the Golden Ticket Real Estate family. So we can find the recording there. Thank you, Michael Henry, for creating that for us. But Brian, thank you so much. So many great nuggets. I've got 2 pages full of notes. So you're awesome. And I'm so glad that the team is fully on command. I know that was a good one for you.
Yeah, it's excellent. So appreciate you, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
And
Thank you,
we'll talk
Brian.
soon. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Brian.
Bye.
Thank you.